what up? It's me, it's the Skeleton Guy, and I am really hyped to bring you a preview of the latest build of Fatal Fury City of the Wolves that was at the Summer Game Fest Playdays event. Now, there really wasn't much that I was into that was on display over the weekend in Los Angeles, so a massive thank you goes out to SNK for inviting me to check out their booth so I could do some intensive coverage. And of course, another thanks to my boy Justin Wong for the hookup. Do make sure to check out his channel for his thoughts on the demo as well. Okay, so for the last few months, both Justin and Max have been talking about how good this new Fatal Fury is on several episodes of Triple KO. And while I was enraptured with every word they had to say about it, I'm not going to pretend that the FOMO wasn't real. So when the opportunity came up to play it in LA with 2 new characters available, I absolutely jumped at the chance. SNK had a very slick professional setup. While I was waiting to play, I was reminded of something Max had said about Fatal Fury looking way better in person when compared to any videos you'd see online thanks to YouTube's compression, and he wasn't lying. Once I started playing and put my old man reading glasses on, I was shocked at just how much the game popped. The bright colors, the strong comic book style shading, the edge lighting on the character models, it's absolutely gorgeous, and to me, really invoked a 90s feel over stuff like Tekken 8 or Street Fighter 6, which go for photorealism. But even in comparison to other SNK efforts like KOF 15 and the recent Sam show, I'm digging this a lot more in terms of the visuals, as it just feels super flashy and fresh, even down to the versus and select screens and just the UI on the whole. Yellow and black seem to be the predominant color scheme, which makes sense as it was seen in the rollback re-release of Garou a few years back. This upgrade to the presentation extended into things like the pre-match introductions and the post-match taunts too, because both totally feel like a step up from SNK's previous fighters in terms of the camera work and animation. This is also exemplified by them adding English VO, which hasn't been an option in SNK games since like KOF 12?
Feel the power of the Kyokugen Fist!
For you purists, though, it is totally optional, but to me, this shows how confident they are in the game by spending the extra money. And big ups to Jalen Castle for portraying Tizak. I worked with him on the takeover, so congrats to him for nabbing that role. Anyway, there's already plenty of info out there about how City of the Wolves plays, so I'm not going to do, a big rundown of all the systems, because honestly, we'd be here all goddamn day. Suffice it to say, there's a ton of new things you can do, in addition to pretty much everything that was in Garou, and honestly, it's pretty overwhelming at first. The main thing, if you're new to Fatal Fury or enjoy fighting games on a casual level, is that you can now do EX versions of all your specials, called Rev Arts, along with SNK's version of Street Fighter 3's parries, called Just Defense, as well as a brand new mechanic that was just added in this build called Wild Punish. God, that's a cool name. Essentially, this amounts to punishing your opponent when something of theirs whiffs, which results in a special knockdown or crumple state depending on what move was performed. The other main mechanic I want to touch on is Rev Excels, because it's probably the coolest and flashiest thing in City of the Wolves, outside of supers. This is when you cancel one rev art into another, which then produces a cool after image of your character, or as Max would like to say, blue shit, which then produces a move that would otherwise be impossible, like Terry launching himself at like a crazy angle while dishing out a ton of damage. Not all rev arts can link into each other though, they have to make some sort of connective sense, so while you can easily cancel a rushdown special into a DP, it does have limits elsewhere. And I'm not sure if this is purposeful, but this really reminded me, visually at least, of Final Impacts in Real Bout Dominated Mind, but that just might be a coincidence. Of course, doing a Rev Excel greatly increases your Rev gauge, and the higher this gets, your character starts to overheat, so it's basically a reverse Street Fighter drive meter. While performing supers and other actions causes it to cool down faster, it also drains slowly by itself, but the best way to accelerate this process is triggering your character's hidden gear. These have been shown off in some videos already, but they're essentially your level 3s that require 2 conditions to activate. You need to have a full power meter, and you have to have your life bar in a special zone that you designate before the match. This is the SPG system, an evolution of the top system that was introduced back in Garo. This, I thought, is a pretty interesting change because it lends itself to a specific strategy. Do you tend to use a lot of your supers during the fight as soon as you get them? Well then don't place the SPG zone at the very start of your life bar. Move it towards the end so you can manage your power meter throughout the match and use your hidden gear to finish the fight off with style. Or place the SPG marker in the middle of your life bar so it's more balanced. The other benefit to using this super attack is that it cools down your rev meter instantly, allowing you to then go on the offensive immediately afterwards. Back at EVO Japan, where Fatal Fury was made playable to the public, hidden gears had crazy motions that would make the humble SNK pretzel blush. In the build I played though, it was a pretty straightforward double quarter circle motion and the R1 button, and was universal for all characters. The SNK rep I spoke to said it was changed after the feedback they got from EVO Japan, where players said that in terms of competition, these moves were needlessly tricky to perform in the heat of a match. I, of course, agree with this, and am happy for the change. Apparently, the reason why it was initially so difficult was because the City of the Wolves dev team in Japan wanted to harken back to the days of there being secretive, hard-to-pull-off maneuvers. That's totally fine and valid for the 90s, where information was harder to get and secrets were rumored throughout arcades, but in 2024, you want people to be able to perform your coolest shit and show it off. But thankfully, hidden gears aren't too easy either, like, I don't know, just pressing 2 shoulder buttons together. Now, all of this is just still skimming the surface. There's feints, hyper defense, rev guard, guard cancel, and a few more after that, I think. While I'm sure it seems like, a lot, you can still play City of the Wolves like a regular 2D fighting game, just focusing on your special moves and meter management. These other systems are there to deepen the experience for experts, and if you're wondering, yeah, there's a modern, simple style control scheme, similar to those offered by Capcom and Namco, although I didn't personally try it, so I can't attest to its effectiveness. The demo itself contained 5 fighters: Terry, Rock, and Preacha from the initial reveal, Marco Rodriguez from EVO Japan, and Vox Reaper, one of the newly announced characters that's a pupil of old sub-boss Grant. Now, if you've been following City of the Wolves with any amount of fervor, you'll notice there's some omissions. Tizak, Hotaru Futaba, and other returning character B, Justin's waifu Jenny, were missing from this build. I asked an SNK rep about this, and they gave an interesting answer. They don't want to just keep adding more and more characters to every demo build that gets shown, because it could then lead to being paralyzed by choice. If there's only a limited amount of time to experience the demo, having 7, 8, 12 characters means a ton of them won't get played. So, as the game gets shown throughout the year at more events like EVO in Las Vegas or TGS, Terry and Rock will most likely stay, while the rest of the cast will be rotated in and out as new characters are completed and announced. After some thought, I realized how much sense this makes, because with only 5 fighters available, I got to play as everyone during my hands-on, but I also can't lie, I was missing my griffin-faced grappler. Although I'm sure Justin was happy he wasn't in this demo.
Yo, that did mad damage!
Speaking of which, let's move on to the Hungry Wolves themselves. Rock is similar to what he was in KOF 15, but better due to the new systems. Rising Tackle is a DP motion, which is always a bit hard for me to get used to, but his entire kit seemed to work really well overall, although I gotta say his Power Geyser hidden gear is a little wonky. There's some awkward camera cuts throughout it, and the entire animation feels, I guess, unfinished? It's hard to put into words, but I do hope SNK revisits it at some point, because he is the MC after all. I do love how Rock seems more confident in this though. He's not always 100% stoic or frowny anymore, which I think is a nice change of pace.
Gonna take you for a ride. Try to keep up, alright?
Terry is a bit more accessible in the gameplay department and is as fun to use as ever. No real surprises here or any big changes to his moveset, and while I'm fine with that, I would have appreciated at least one radically new technique. His hidden gear, the cosmic fucking reality destroying tornado punch, which mimics the moves that he did in the old animes, I gotta say, is pretty damn rad. Marco Rodriguez was especially fun and easy to use as well, and hits like an absolute truck. His kick special is really effective in a lot of situations, his fireballs are good keep away, and landing his multi-hitting rev blow is incredibly satisfying, as is his dragon punch super. His hidden gear, meanwhile, is probably one of, if not the best in the game so far. Impactful, perfect camera work, and feels like it really, really hurts. If you love your karate mans and your fighting games, you can't go wrong with Marco. He's super duper solid. Next up is Preacha, who I was the least excited about initially, but after playing her, I really started to get into her fighting style. Yeah, she has some similarities to Joe, and I hope her inclusion doesn't mean Joe is off the table, but her kick specials, the way her tornadoes kind of bounce towards the enemy, and her forward spin move into a cool little combo felt pretty handy. She's more of a zoning character, but she can also close the distance if she needs to. I really liked her alternate color, where she's wearing red and has platinum blonde hair, and I honestly prefer it to her default. Also, she's tied with Marco for having the coolest level 3, which is something I didn't expect. Again, it just has a good flow to it and doesn't have the weird camera movements or awkward moments that some of the others do. And finally, there's Vox Reaper, a name that's totally not odd to say. Why not just call him Reaper or just Vox? Anyway, like I mentioned earlier, he's a pupil of Grant's who has a similar moveset, but with his own unique quirks. He has a cool command grab, a great rushdown punch, a DP, and a pretty dope dive kick. He does a little mid-air double jump and then shoots down at an angle, and rev-arting this makes it even more effective. I actually really enjoyed playing as Reaper, cause even though he's your basic I'm a cool edgelord archetype guy, gameplay-wise he's pretty satisfying, especially if you like getting into your opponent's face. His hidden gear, where he takes out Grant's mask, unfortunately has this one sequence where the animation loses all momentum as he slowly walks towards you before then dishing out the final blow. For a character that's constantly rushing for it at all times, he should do the same here. It's something that really stuck out to me, minor as it is. So basically, I had a great time playing as pretty much everyone, and while I didn't get fist deep into every system, once I started doing rev excels, things were really starting to click. It does remind me of playing Street Fighter 6 for the first time a little bit, where I was like, okay, wait, there's this, wait, no, oh damn, okay, oh Jesus. But after some time, it all started to come together. Aside from my issues with the hidden gear animations, there really wasn't anything in the build I disliked or felt needed to change, but there is a lot I hope will be added in the final game. While I understand the line system isn't something that they can just add, I hope there's at least some environmental interaction, like as basic as just hitting your opponent into some crates or objects, which causes additional damage. If I could have at least one thing that I feel would still be possible at this point, would be something borrowed from Real Bout, where there's barriers on either side of the screen in some stages, and after taking enough abuse, they get damage, which results in a stunned state on whoever gets slammed into it last. I think stuff like this, some interactivity with the background, is a massive part of Fatal Fury's identity. While I'm aware this is a sequel to Garo, I still think it would be awesome to include something along those lines that would honor the series' legacy. I wasn't able to get any information on future modes, but I was told there should be some news later this year. I'm really pining for a slightly more involved story campaign where you're given a map of Southtown and choose the particular location you want to go to, which houses a few things you can do. Talk to some characters, maybe cameos from SNK's past, do some mini games like, I don't know, hitting bottles, beat up a jobber, and then unlock the condition to fight and defeat the boss of that location, which would of course be one of the main playable fighters. Again, something really small scale. I don't need need the story mode of Mortal Kombat or Tekken 8 or a big explorable city like World Tour, but I'd like something, as just having a basic arcade mode in 2024 just isn't enough for a sizable percentage of players today. I also hope that all the expected online features are present in Fatal Fury Day 1, and we don't have to wait multiple years for, like we did for some of SNK's past titles. But considering cross-platform play is listed on the game's Steam page already, I'd say that's a very good sign. To sum things up, I was super happy with City of the Wolves. It looks great, has an appealing cast of characters, and the gameplay is addicting, simple to pick up and play, but has a ton below the surface to figure out and master. I'm salivating, hungry even, to play more, so thanks again to SNK for inviting me to check it out. Summer Game Fest had quite a few valleys to me, but this was an absolute peak, so I can't wait to see what else is in store. Fatal Fury revs up in early 2025 on Steam, Xbox Series, PS4, and PS5, so the storm is indeed coming soon. So until then, fellow wolves, I'll see you next time.